Okay, we're going to do an example problem where we calculate the equivalent power of the United States oil imports. So the first thing we need to do is recognize that the importing of oil represents power because it's energy coming into the United States. It's a certain amount of energy per time, and that's what power is. So what we want to do is just basically a units conversion. What is the power equivalent in watts of the US's oil imports? And then the reason we're doing that is we can take a look and see at how much power plants we would need to build, for example, or what size power plants, or what other things we could do to produce an equivalent amount of power to what we're getting from oil imports. So we're going to use a value of 9 million barrels of oil imported each day. Okay, so that's given to us. We could look that up online. It's provided to us in the book that's how much oil the U.S. imports each day at the present time. So our 9 million barrels of oil represents a certain amount of energy, and our power is that amount of energy per day. So the power, which is defined as energy divided by time, it's an amount of energy that's moving from one place to another, being consumed, and the T is the time that it takes for that energy to move or to be used up, and that gives me the power. So the energy is the 9 million barrels of oil. So how much energy is that in joules, our basic unit of energy, because a watt is 1 joule per second. Well, according to the book, the energy content of oil is 43 megajoules per kilogram, which is also given as 40 kilowatt hours per gallon. This is from table 3.3 in the book. So in order to convert that to our 9 million barrels of oil to a certain amount of energy, we need to know what is a barrel, and the book tells us that 1 barrel is 42 gallons. And I don't know how many kilograms is in a gallon of oil, so I'm going to work with the 40 kilowatt hours per gallon and convert that 9 million barrels of oil. So the first thing I need to do is convert my 9 million barrels of oil to a number of gallons. So I'm just going to go very methodically through the first unit conversion. I have 9 is the quantity, million barrels, so that's 9 times 10 to the 6. This is a million, and that's barrels. And then I want to convert that to gallons. So I've got an equivalence here between a barrel and a gallon and gallons written this way. Anytime you do a units conversion, you're going to write a units conversion factor. So if you want, you can pause here and see if you can guess what I'm going to put here and here, but I'm going to put the two sides of this equation, one on the top and the other on the bottom, so that I get the right units out. So in order to have barrels cancel out, I'm going to put my 1 barrel here on the bottom and my 42 gallons here on the top. I know to do that because then the units of barrels cancel, and I end up with 9 times 10 to the 6 times 42. So for that, get the calculator out. 9 times 10 to the 6 times 42 gives me 3.78 times 10 to the, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gallons. Okay, it's a new calculator, but you want to get your calculator set up to give you your answer in scientific notations, which I haven't done yet for this guy. So that's how many gallons I've got. I've just converted barrels to gallons. Well, now I'm going to convert it. I'm trying to get to joules, so I've got 40 kilowatt hours per gallon. So I'm now going to do my next conversion. E equals 3.78 times 10 to the 8 gallons. And my conversion is that there are 40 kilowatt hours per gallon. So I could write that as 40 kilowatt hours of energy equals the energy in 1 gallon of oil equivalent. Okay, I'm writing this out because, of course, a gallon is a unit of volume. This is a unit of energy, so I'm saying that this is the energy equivalent in 1 gallon of oil. So my units conversion factor, I want the gallon to cancel out, so I put the 1 gallon in the denominator. I put the 40 kilowatt hours in the numerator. My gallons cancel, and then I have 3.78 times 10 to the 8 times 40. So 3.78 times 10 to the 8 times 40 gives me 1.5 times 10 to the 10 kilowatt hours. So I now have the energy equivalent of all those barrels of oil in kilowatt hours. I'm looking for the power equivalent. The power equals the energy divided by the time. So the energy is 1.5 times 10 to the 10 kilowatt hours divided by the time, which is 1 day. Well, I've got hours up here. This is a kilowatt times an hour. So if I convert my day to hours, the hours will cancel out. So I have 1.5 times 10 to the 10 kilowatt hours divided by the number of hours in a day, 24 hours. My hours cancel, and this then gives me the power in kilowatts. P equals 1.5 times 10 to the 10 divided by 24. 1.5 times 10 to the 10 divided by 24 equals 6.25 times 10 to the 8 kilowatts. Here I have kilowatt hours, and here hours. The hours cancel, so what I'm left with is kilowatts. I asked for the answer in watts. Kilowatts is 1,000 watts, so I can multiply that by a units conversion factor between kilowatts. I put my kilowatts in the denominator because I want them to cancel out. How many watts are equal to 1 kilowatt? 1,000. So I just multiply that number by 1,000. The kilowatts cancel out, and I get that the answer is 6.25 times 10 to the 11 watts. Okay? Or 625 million kilowatts. Okay? This is, in gigawatts, is 10 to the 9. So this is 625 gigawatts of power. A typical large electrical power plant is on the order of 1 gigawatt. So we would need 600 large new power plants to produce as much power as we get from importing oil.